too, Gio.
This is a test of the emergency broadcast system.
This is only a test.
DJs in MC. This DJ, he gets it out.
Listen to this jockey's introduction to
Two DJs in a mic with your host, DJ Mike.
Is that a turntable?
And DJ JP.
Well, get on it. It's your turn.
Give me the mic.
Okay, guys, welcome to another edition of Two DJs, One Mic with the infamous DJ JP and myself, the soft-spoken one, DJ Mike. We're here with some of, I would say, I'm not going to use the word seasoned because we're not seasoned, but some of the people that have had the opportunity to experience hip-hop from the beginning. So we have Gio that by way of the West Coast, now he's a Texan. We have DJ Lou Paris out of the NYC. And we have DJ Silver Spinner, originally from, what is that, Jamaica, by way of the Bronx.
Brooklyn, baby. Brooklyn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll get it twisted.
Brooklyn. I'm sorry. Flashbrook. Brooklyn. Yes. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. And if we could, in whatever order, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Gio, go first. I'll help you.
All right. Well, I'm Gio. I originally from Dallas. I grew up in Dallas.
Okay.
Moved to California. Lived there 22 years, and then moved back about 20 years ago. No, 2008. So math is, when you get older, your math kind of goes away. But since 2008, started DJing in 81. Really started DJing, doing events about 83. So it's been about 41 years.
Wow.
This is my hobbies. High school hobby became my career. So still here, still doing it, and still loving it.
Sweet. Lou?
So DJ Lou, originally from Baltimore and the DMV for a hot minute. Lived in New York City for a minute. I'm now upstate New York at this point, but started DJing in '88 in high school, and actually took a break for a hot minute and kind of got back into it about 12 years ago and all that. So I never stopped my love for the genre and all that for sure.
DJ Silver.
Gio and I go as far back as together because I actually started in like 81. That's the first time I put my hands on a set of turntables.
Wow.
And then, bought my own in like 83, actually 82. And then it was on from that point on. But for me, being a kid that grew up in Brooklyn, I grew up watching this burgeoning new sound called hip hop.
Yes.
Right, because there was nothing on the radio, nothing out called hip hop. We didn't even know what it was. And the first time I actually heard this hip hop sound was in 1978. These cats in my neighborhood had this tape with these. The DJ was bringing back the breakbeat of Good Times, and the MC was rapping over that. And it was the type of thing that just like completely messed me up. And I was like, I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. Seriously.
Wow.
And it's been on ever since, and took me to many places that I did not expect to go. But I am one of the original founding members of the group Whistle. And so we put out a whole bunch of hit records back then. One of our biggest hit records was Nothing Serious, Just Buggin'. We did a lot of shows in the DMV, man. A lot of shows in the DMV with Barber's Bedroom, and
okay.
The list goes on and on and on. But I've been a DJ my entire life.
So we have some legends in the building.
Yes, and I think that's important, to have the conversation that we're going to have. And, and the topic is what defines old school hip hop, and there's, it's a very vast, conversation, and to me, it's not, because it does have an origin. Now, the crazy thing is how we take and redefine things. And so based on you guys, level knowledge and years in the industry, and I think all of us have a lot of years in the industry, and I'm always fun to hear the stories of where it originated, because I didn't get that opportunity, as you did, Rick, to be there and hear that in the raw. I had to hear it on vinyl or on the radio, really. So that's always a great thing. And we just want to have, this candid conversation, about, hip hop and where it originated. So my first question to all of you guys is, what's your personal definition of old school hip hop, and how does it differ from the mainstream view?
That's a good question. And if y'all don't mind, I'll field that one first. First, what is the definition of old school hip hop? I guess it depends on the perspective of the person and when they grew up, right?
Yes.
Previously, before we signed on, Lou made a comment about classic rock. Same thing. There's different eras of classic rock, but it's still classic music to us because we didn't grow up in that era. I personally think we can sort of draw a line between what is current hip hop and what is old school hip hop when Fetty Wap came out with mumble rap.
So you drawing the line at about what, 2000 and?
When did that come? When did Trap Queen come out? What was that like?
Man, I don't know.
Go look it up, Jeff. Go look it up. See, for me, it goes back to what you were just saying, Mike, is that I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in the late 70s and early 80s when hip hop wasn't even a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were in a crew called the Silver Spinners. That's why I kept the name Silver Spinner. I came up in the same neighborhood with cats like Howie T, who was in QPSL, and Kango, who was in UFO, the Untouchable Force organization. They had to throw the T in there because some other group had the name Untouchable Force. And we were all neighborhood groups doing block parties around the way in Brooklyn. And we all sort of created this sound as it was coming out of the Bronx and coming out of Uptown. And
so you said you giving it that much time, 2015?
Yeah. See, I would change that a little bit myself.
Yeah, that's got to go back. So
that's his definition.
Okay, all right.
And everyone's got their own definition.
Think about it this way, Jeff. Everything prior to that, you could understand what people were saying.
See, I would take it, so of course 78, 79, real origins, where you started hearing, some of the seeds starting to hit radio and all that. I would bring that all the way to like 96, the golden age, basically origins to golden age. 96 to like 08 is what I call kind of like, well, I don't necessarily call it peak hip hop, but peak from a commercial perspective, where still some of the origins were there. You can still see the traces of that. But it was definitely morphed into something far more commercial. It was far more accepted in the public. But then post 08, and that's not to say there's bad music post 08, but it started getting far more into the chopped and screwed sound. It started getting more into the trap sound at that point. And it just started kind of taking a whole different turn and a whole different thing. It's almost like, and this is well documented, where the record labels were really trying to shift that kind of thing. They went from fun party hip hop to conscious rap. They couldn't have the conscious rap, so that's when gangsta started at that point. But then it started getting that kind of commercial flavor to it. Got that shiny suit era for like a hot minute, and then things just started morphing into the more and more popular, and then just to the point where it just like
Puff Daddy.
Exactly. And that's not to say that there's not artists today, perfect example like Coast Contra and all that has that kind of L&S, that kind of Busta flavor, that kind of, just they're taking it, the woo kind of flavor, they're taking that kind of origin, that they're sticking true to it, but it's definitely veered on a much different course now.
Yeah, and Jeff, if you think about it, some cats these days think of Drake as old school.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Because
As a wedding
so
DJ, I hear that all the time. Like,
yeah, I want to go
Drake.
back to the old school days of Drake. What?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So what about you,
Gio,
Gio?
what is your old school? What is your old school cutoff, Gio?
Well, everything's relative to a lot of factors for each person that really how you define it. One is where you lived, because everything, your environment, the people that you're surrounded with makes you define what hip hop is, because in the early stages of hip hop, a lot of it was New York based, East Coast based. So living in California, we weren't really exposed to that till it kind of slowly morphed into hip hop in that area. It created its own sound in the West Coast. Starting with a lot of the fusion from the disco, the faster stuff, into electro, a lot of the West Coast electro, and then the gangster rap, which was probably the pinnacle of how it all started with true hip hop in the West Coast. But the way that I define it is based on how you see it through your lens. If you see it based on strictly, how do you say it, environment, then you're going to see it in a different way than somebody sees it based on, what somebody feels of music. You can define something based on how you feel that song touches you, how it moves you. So personally, I enjoy all types of music. I don't have a favorite, especially in hip hop, because it has given me many things throughout my career. So I guess I just kind of lost my train of thought here.
Hip hop will do that.
A senior moment here, okay?
Yeah.
Senior moment.
Hip hop will do that, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hip
that's
hop.
the hip.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Hip-hop
that's the
made me
hip.
forget
Okay,
stuff.
so what? All right, that's good. We're gonna really be in.
So for me, I would like to say, for me, when it comes to that, it starts when it originated. For me, always, that's old school. And that old school era for me is from that 78, 79 era all the way up to about 89 for me. That's the era in which that I consider to be old school.
And that's the way it was defined too. It went from old school to new school right around that time.
Yes. When Bustin' Them came out and so forth. So that's old school for me. And I know when it comes to some people, they're looking at it from their age point, which that's fine. But when you have something that originated, you can't put that your age on it. You can say that, old school hip hop for me is this, but you can't give a definite, this is old school hip hop, because it's not, in my opinion.
Well, because everybody's got a different starting point.
But it has a starting point.
Yeah, I mean, it does, but you have, like, remember we did a show and we went through all those songs and a lot of cats had never heard. We went through some of the greatest beats ever out there, and a lot of people didn't even know what we were talking about. And then I'll say, y'all call yourself DJs and y'all haven't done any research or went back or listened to any old, so it's just, like y'all said, that blew me away with the Drake comment. That's crazy. That Drake is old school. I've never heard anybody say that to me. And when they do, I'm like, no, Drake is not old school. That's modern. But we're going to keep it rolling. They said, can you take us back to a moment when you realized hip-hop was going to be a major part of your life, and what track or artist hooked you?
That's a good one.
Can I go first?
Oh. Yeah.
I was at the Catholic Youth Association, and I heard not that I was Catholic.
It had to be clean.
It was for
But
some.
go ahead.
It was for some woman. But no, I heard Rapper's Delight, and I was hooked, man. That was mine. That was the song that got me. I said, "What is this? And how can we get more?" And I was hooked after that. That was mine. So I won't take up all the time. But go ahead. We're gonna start with Rick.
You know that Rapper's Delight was the second rap song ever?
Yeah, I know it was, but that was the first one. Being that I was in deep down South Mississippi, and the church Bible thumpers I barely got to hear that one. You know, my daddy probably would have destroyed the radio if he didn't know I was listening to it. But no, that was the first one that I heard and fell in love with it. After that, I was hooked, man.
Yeah, the masses think that that's the first rap record ever recorded, though.
That's the first one that went mass appeal to everybody, though.
Well, what was the first?
What was the first song?
King Tim III by the Fatback Band.
Yeah, Fatback.
Tim III.
That was the very first.
That was like 77 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
What hooked you, Lou? What was yours?
So for me, so I had heard Rapper's Delight on radio when I was a little kid. Between that and Rapture, of course, shouting out 5 Freddy. It's like, what are you talking about here? But it was my friend had made a trip to Brooklyn, and he had a tape, and they had It's Like That and a couple other songs. But that was a song that just like hooked me right at that point. So that's what, 84, if I'm not mistaken, 83, 84, when I heard that, and ever since then, sold. It was just my vibe.
Gio, what was yours?
Wow. Well, in the early 80s, when I first started, I didn't have turntables. I actually DJ'd with cassettes, and I would make.
We're going to come back to that, but go ahead.
Well, I'll bring it full circle here, and I started recording start-stop recordings. So I could use, and every night, not every night, but on the nights, I would listen to a radio station out here. It was K104, but back then it was a lot of with a DJ called Dr. Rock, and he would play a lot of stuff. And the one that really, really got me, influenced me, that I said, you know what, this is hip hop. And I'm more of a up tempo hip hop, junkie. Is Hashim? It was Hashim, and things like that, like Pretty Tony, Cybertron.
Yeah.
So a lot of that of the electro funk.
All that fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's time.
Just feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what really grabbed me. That was what I gravitated to. There was a lot of the other hip hop, but more so that I said, this is what I like. The Mantronic, a little bit faster stuff, original concept, things like that.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Rick?
Like I told you, man, 1978, my boys had this tape of these guys just cutting up good times, and I'll never forget it because it started out like this. The MC started, he said, like a lime to a lemon, lemon, lemon to a lime, lime. Come on, y'all, and let's have and the DJ threw on good times, just the break beat part. Bringing the break beat back, and the MC was just rapping over the break beat of good times.
It just blew you away.
Done. And ever since that, being in New York, obviously, I've seen every single rap record that came out, from the Funky 4+1 to Fearless 4 to Treacherous 3. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. So I know every single rap record, when they came out, what the influence they had. So for me, old school, yes, is that era. But when you talk about like what Gio was saying before, the masses, everybody has a different perspective based on when they grew up.
Yeah. And where too, because a lot of us didn't get it because we didn't get to listen to hip hop maybe an hour at night on the radio, and we didn't start getting it till Fab Five Freddy down with MTV Raps and all that. Mm-hmm. That's when we finally started hearing rap.
Well, my first song, and it's going to be. Are y'all familiar with Wolf Ticket?
Wolf Ticket? No.
Mm-hmm. They had a song called Your Mama.
Where were they from?
I don't know where Bro, I know that just messed you up. Hey, I'm telling you, go listen to the song Wolf Ticket. Wolf as in WUF and then Ticket.
Okay.
The song is called Your Mama.
All right.
YA Your Mama. And it's a rap.
Okay.
And the bass line, that was the first time, and I heard this in like 1980 or 81. The song came out. Yes. Yeah. But the song came out in 79, somewhere around there. The first 82. Yeah. But whatever it was, that was my first time hearing and falling in love with rapping.
Interesting. I was just reading up on that. The Greaseman, who was a DJ in the DC area at that time, he actually broke that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Listen, I'm just saying, go check it out. It's a nice song, and you'll be like, "Wow, this is a nice song."
But
I'll check it out.
The first thing, your mama.
Your mama?
Your mama.
Hey, I'm just saying they're talking about each other's mama, but they are rapping.
Oh,
and I'm just saying the way that the smoothness of the voice, I'm like, man,
that would be the song that Mike.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, you are. Sometimes it gets you in trouble, but I understand.
You know, it's a trip too. On the East Coast, we weren't feeling West Coast or Southern rap.
Yeah, it's always had a regional component, really, until midnight. You know, it was really kind of G-Funk era and all that. I want to say that things started kind of like really kind of crossed over.
There was one artist that made it sort of break through on the East Coast in New York, and that was Juvenile.
Yeah.
I'll take that further back. DOC. I got in, and I always felt I was never a big West Coast person at the time, and that whole thing, even it's definitely kind of G-Funk, of course, but
so
I
didn't hit hard in New York as much as
y'all skipping past questions and
all. But he said something. We got to address that.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
So why is my question to you? Was it?
Somebody made the comment before. I think it was Gio who was saying about how the East Coast is where all the rap was coming from, right? And we had a certain sound that we were used to.
Oh.
And so when the Southern sound came to New York, we weren't really feeling it. Like 2 Live Crew didn't hit hard in New York. It wasn't until Juvenile sort of Too Short. I didn't even know who Too Short was.
Oh my God.
I'm not joking. Straight up. What was the name of the crew that Dr. Dre was in before NWA?
World Class Wrecking.
World Class Wrecking.
Didn't hear about World Class Wrecking Crew until I'm traveling in
So you've never heard
California touring.
You heard Turn Off the Lights until then?
Turn Off the Lights by who?
Even before that was Juice.
World Class Wrecking Crew.
God.
No, they had some other songs.
So you know what? I actually feel privileged because I grew up getting everything. And I didn't have a bias toward anybody. So yours was probably the same way.
Yeah, it was the same. I liked all of it.
Yeah, so
it was different because
we had some East Coast snobbery. I mean, there was no doubt.
We know it because we were down south because Juvenile and Master P them. I had a friend I DJ with in the military. He hated anything from Master P them. He refused to play it in the club. But he came up and asked for it. I had to get on and play Master P them because he refused to play. Man, I'm not playing that garbage. That's garbage. I'm like, hey, dude, these cats are making fun.
Was he East Coast?
Yeah, he was from Miami. He was from Miami. He was East Coast though, but I was like, Nate, I'm sorry. Nate, you can't do that. You gotta play what the people want, but and we were in Texas. So I'm like, how you hating on something that's right here, Dirty South? But that was his thing, man. He hated No Limit.
Well, DOC is from Dallas.
Yeah.
He was originally Dallas.
Yeah, originally from Dallas.
He was basically the prototype before Snoop. Before he got his accident and Snoop came out.
Oh wow!
He had a.
So when did y'all? So Rick, when did you move to Texas, Rick?
2002.
So when did you accept Juvenile, him and Jay-Z high, which he had to get Jay-Z on the track, or was it Bag That Thing Up that switched you over?
Back That Thing Up.
The national anthem of the Dirty South.
Was it because of the lyrics or
what it brought it? Girls were feeling it in the club.
What about you, Lou? What was the first? Well, you said DOC.
Yeah, DOC. It was the first thing that kind of crossed over to me, and that's not to say I didn't like some of the electro funk stuff and all that, because I got into funk to begin with, so I kind of I was vibing on that, but I also knew there was no way I was ever playing this at a college party or anything like that, because people would they would throw me the hell out and all that. But
and Jeff, it's not like we didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's not like we didn't hear it.
It
was not hitting.
That might have been the first cut from somewhere else that got on the radio in New York.
Say that again?
What was the first hip hop cut from down south, East Coast, West Coast that got on the radio in New York?
That like got major radio play?
Yeah.
It Ain't My Fault.
Was it Snoop?
Well, no, before Snoop.
It had to be. What about NWA?
NWA without a question, no doubt about it. Eazy-E, DOC, right? Yes, Juvenile, that whole New Orleans thing.
You get them 10, 15 years later. So what about Master P? Did they get any love up north?
Master P, no love whatsoever.
No love for No Limit in the East Coast. No.
So G, you was joking with that ain't my fault, weren't you?
It ain't my fault.
Wow, that is so crazy.
Yeah, and even Too Short was not hitting on
Blow the Whistle, the number one track in of all clubs.
Well,
that's he's talking about Born to Mac.
But what about Atlanta stuff like Dupree and all of them? And
well, hold on, back up now. You got to remember, Dupree is from New York.
Yeah,
he took a New York sound to Atlanta.
Hey! But where is his music from?
His music.
He don't claim New York.
His music is from New York.
Okay.
but lots of artists like that kind of. I mean, Pac was East before he threw into Death Row. And I would say, you know what, Ghetto Boys had a little bit of traction. They weren't nearly. They had a little bit, far more than most of the other, like especially No Limit and all that. You just saw very little of that. But Ghetto Boys, My Mind's Playing Tricks on Me and all that, that got a little bit of traction, not huge. But
so crazy. I feel so blessed where I grew up now.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah, moving on.
You lost yourself.
No, because I got to hear everything. I didn't have a bias. I just
it's good.
Yeah.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
But I understand. I understand because when you get used to hearing something a certain way, and then you hear something else, and it seems like you're going backwards, you don't want to go that way. Because I would say this for me when it comes to hip hop, because I am heavily influenced by East Coast hip hop.
There you go.
Heavily. And I'm influenced by the message, the lyrics, the wordplay. And when I hear something else, I may not say it, but I automatically bounce it out of my head. Man, that's garbage.
Yeah, that's actually the mentality that we had, because we were all about lyrics and beats and
it was a package. It was good. If you had
I agree with that, y'all, but I was more beats. I mean,
me too.
The music, if you got a catchy track and then hits and stuff, but I still was more beats, man, and to hit the song, the wordplay within a song. But I don't know. Like I said,
let me interject.
Go ahead.
I can say that through what I've seen and how I've interpreted is East Coast didn't really have an open mind to a lot of music.
We didn't. No,
okay.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It was major.
That's true.
I mean, they did not have an open mind to music. It was their East Coast style, and that's what it was. Now, if there was any that broke through, then it probably had a relative influence, or it had influences musically, sonically, whatever it may be, to East Coast sound. In the West Coast, we kind of were open-minded to a lot of other music. Not, and this is my interpretation of what we heard. We would play. I mean, we had music that we would play from East Coast. Third Base. We had all these different groups that were East Coast that we would play over there. I mean, we loved it. So that's one of the big differences.
We were very snobbish. There's
I was just about to say that.
And to our detriment. I mean, this whole mentality. And don't get me wrong. Again, East Coast is always going to be kind of my love, and even some of the artists beyond East, like Andre Three Stacks. He was influenced by Tribe and De La and all that. You get, just some other ones. You can always tell there was some influence behind it, but we were completely on our thing.
Yep.
Where we're just
So when Outkast came out, did they break through?
Not immediately.
Yeah, it took a minute. Look at Source Awards. Look what happened to Source Awards.
I know, man, because you would think, well, it was some of that stuff was jacked up, man. Will Smith winning the raps and Grammys, that was all crazy. It didn't make sense. And I know it was snobbish, and I knew because I met guys from East Coast. That's all they like with East Coast stuff. We hate that other mess. What about, and like you said, Luke and none of the Miami stuff broke through up there either, huh?
Well, Luke did because what he was singing about in the clubs, right? So it was hitting in the clubs. So you weren't hearing it. You weren't hearing it on a Hot 97 or WBS
or KYS or anything.
Yeah, nah.
What about Go-Go? Did y'all?
Go-Go's purely
DC thing, dude.
Yeah.
Huh?
Northern Virginia. Yeah. You can't even play in
DMV.
Go-Go's a DMV thing. It ain't hit New York. The only thing that hit New York was doing the
BJ Cool.
Yeah.
BJ Cool
and EU.
Oh, okay.
But even that the butt, the only reason even the butt even got any traction is because you saw it on UMTV Raps.
Yep.
It was the butt. It was the butt. That
you
was it.
talking about
hearing Trouble Funk. You were not hearing Junkyard. You were not hearing.
I mean, even like from the West Coast, we weren't playing Colors. If there wasn't a
we didn't play Colors anywhere either. We could, but we never played
Colors. I'm just saying you couldn't play Colors.
I've never.
And you didn't even play 6 in the morning.
I've never played Colors in the club.
Said I've never played Colors in my life.
Not in the club, I haven't. But man, that's crazy.
Well, let's move on because y'all got him trapped.
This is fascinating.
So, this is another good question. In your opinion, what's the most underrated old school hip hop track or artist that more people should appreciate today?
Whistle.
Barbara's Bedroom.
There's no bias in that one. Oh man.
I'll throw this out there. And he's on my top 10 list, but he's not on enough lists. Reggie Noble, aka Redman. He is probably. He spans now 3.5 decades. He can just almost anything he touches is just it's gold. I mean, it's ridiculous. And
Redman.
Yeah, Redman. Yeah.
I'd have to say Cool G Rap.
Cool G Rap. He's always on my top 10. So that's hard to not.
But he never gets discussed.
Yeah.
No, he don't.
On major people's top 10 list.
And he is nice. He was nice. You go back and listen to his lyrics.
Now I want to hear from George. Okay, George, give us yours. Gio, give us yours. Who would be yours? Somebody that you feel is underrated and doesn't get their props.
King T.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like King T.
No, I like King T too.
Me too.
Yeah. Someone I feel they get a lot of recognition, but not really a whole bunch of props is Gangstar.
Well, so Guru, he's always on my top 10.
Yeah, he doesn't get the love like he does, like other people do. But he was one of those. Top.
You know what? Because he had that monotone style. He was just super smooth behind it and all that. Yep. He just
to me, Guru was more like a Nas style, where it was really cool.
Yeah,
it's laid back, more laid back.
Yeah.
Had a lot
compared to other hip hop.
Yeah.
And y'all may not agree with me, but I think
we have it all night. But go ahead.
I really,
Your mama.
Yeah, that one too. Wolf ticket. But anyway, I think that Rakim don't get the notoriety.
Nah, dude, he does. Rakim is always top 3.
No, he's always top, Mike.
I feel like it should be more.
Why?
I feel like his lyrics should be put in books.
Yes.
And kids, when they talk about rhyming, I think that he should be right there, and you need to go back and listen to this. I've taken my nephews, and they, oh, this is it. I said, no, listen to this. I want you to listen to this whole song, Microphone Thing. And if this doesn't make sense to you, then I have to disown you.
No, he's legendary.
Him is always number one for me.
Yeah.
But I will say this, like, that's basically before Rakim, after Rakim. Like, there's so many artists influenced after him.
I agree with that.
But on that flip, so I did hear his latest album, all that. It's cool, but he didn't evolve nearly as much. And he still remains number one on my list.
Yep.
But somebody like Nas has probably a better claim for the number one spot, even though I still put Rakim on top, just because, again, 4 decades now, or 3.5 decades in the game. He's evolved. He's worked with different producers with just, I mean, the whole King's Disease trilogy was just ridiculous. And that's like, dude, you're 30 years past and you're still dropping gems.
So I have to ask, Lou, what do you put LL in this?
I normally put him like about like 6, 7. He's Kane, LL, Cool G Rap, Black Thought sometimes throws on my top 10 just because I've always liked his flow and always liked his style. Nas.
You don't have KRS-One on there?
So KRS is usually like around like my 8 or 9. He's always top 10, but he's usually a little bit lower.
Wow, you put L over KRS?
I would, and here's the reason why.
Wow.
L, I think if you so I'm just thinking just a battle style here. I think L would just basically get a little bit over him. Just a little bit. I think L's got a little bit more seasoning behind that.
I have to add one person.
One hasn't evolved.
Over the teacher, huh?
But go ahead.
And don't get me wrong, I love KRS-One.
Oh yeah, we all do.
I can't forget MC Light.
Oh,
MC
definitely
Light
best
is,
female MC. Period.
Yes.
Wow.
Who you got then, Latifah?
Who? Roxanne Shante?
Okay.
Oh man, it's getting thick.
No.
No.
We got to hear this now.
A young lady from a group called the Fugees.
Oh,
Lord.
Is that rap or is that?
I will give her she's got rap cred.
Dude, listen to Lauryn Hill spit.
You don't have to tell me. I love the Fugees, man. One of my favorite songs is "Ready or Not." I can play that anytime, anywhere.
Come on, man.
You ready to ride? That's what
Lauryn Hill over Light any day. After Lauryn Hill, is Latifah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I can see that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with Lauryn. She really only has 2 albums. Well, 2.5. You got the first 2 Fugees albums.
Biggie only had 2 albums.
True. He's got a lot of features.
He's considered one of the best rappers of all time. He only had 2 albums.
He's got a love. And there's a reason why Biggie has slipped down to like maybe my number 4, 3 or 4, somewhere around there, is because he will never have the catalog.
Right.
I think he would have absolutely kept that stratospheric level kind of thing. But here's the thing with Lauryn, she crashed and burned. And that's the sad part. It's like she really did have like gems. Lost Ones is like still one of my favorite things. It's just like
what about Miss? We had Chris chime in. What about Missy Elliott?
Missy to me is more like an MC Hammer.
Please explain. Please explain.
That's more party dance. She's not a lyricist, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I agree.
You can put Lauryn Hill with a Nas. You can't put a Missy Elliott with a Latifah. It just don't work.
Ooh, these cats going.
I would agree.
That New York bias is deep, man. Oh man.
That's why we're talking about old school. So I'm just saying the beauty of this is, in most instances, you cannot unlearn something that you learn.
True.
So if you've been exposed to something and it's been up here, it's hard for you to come down here and accept this as being up here. So that's where I would say some of it's, I don't even consider it to be biasness. You're just putting it on the scale and it just doesn't measure. And people take it as being biased.
Well, it is a personal bias. I mean, no matter how you flip, you got, again, your own experiences, what you normally listen to, you typically gravitate to that similar kind of, vibe and all that.
Yeah. I agree, but if we put it on a scale, Lou, some of that stuff won't even, it's
register.
it's like lyrically putting Soldier Boy on the scale with KRS-One.
Well, perfect example.
Can't do it.
I'm just being honest. Does it move?
Yeah. But I want to throw a monkey wrench in the business.
Okay.
Which is getting really controversial and has been discussed lately. Eminem.
Okay, what talk to me, Lou.
What's the controversy?
So
people are not giving him his due.
Oh.
And to me, Eminem is in my top 5. It changes.
Yeah.
Where I put him, right? But like Lou was saying, Nas, Rakim, Biggie, sometimes I throw Eminem up in there, and I'm like, man, if you listen to the dude, and Lou mentioned it, like Lauryn Hill hadn't evolved, Eminem has evolved.
Yeah, so
he has, but what is he involved to? And here's my problem with that.
His syncopation is insane. He never used to.
It is.
He never used to.
That's what he's about now, though. That's the thing that bothers me about M. Like, let's say, let's throw like a Kane, Rakim, Black Thought. People who have lyrical miracles. They can really throw down when necessary. M really, I love his double, triple entendres and all that. But they don't go anywhere. It's like he's just rhyming for the sake of rhyming those multisyllabic kind of things. And then you add all those things where his first couple albums were actually pretty hot, but then he really kind of, fell on his face, and he's never really quite picked back that torch up. Like, it's always been like, struggling for something. Again, I'm not trying to say that he doesn't have cred. He absolutely has cred in that.
Oh, he doesn't really have that C4 to your door, no beef, no more.
Yeah, no more.
Boy, y'all, wow. So, was Eminem accepted in New York?
Well, Eminem came out while I was here, so.
Yeah, he definitely got DC and New York. He definitely picked up quite a bit. But by then, and here's the other thing too, with like artists like M and past that, hip hop got so much more popular at that point that it's not as easy to gauge how these popular artists that came 2000 and on versus the pioneers. Like, how many times we mentioned EPMD?
The industry has changed. The industry has changed so much that there are things that are accepted that used to not be accepted.
100%.
What's crazy now is that the generation now of the mumble rappers, this generation of kids that listen to hip hop, of this generation of hip hop, they do not like East Coast rap.
No, they don't. 100% agree on that.
They don't.
Yeah,
so East Coast rappers are not
trap, drill, screw flavor.
East Coast rappers are not hitting it in the US like they used to because of all of the Southern Atlanta-based, Texas-based hip-hop artists.
I totally agree.
100%.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Do you think the spirit of old school hip-hop still exists in today's music, or has it evolved into something completely different?
And which that's something that you're going into.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different. It ain't the same.
What do you think about it, sir?
Yeah, it's completely morphed into something completely different, now than than the old school that we're accustomed to. Completely morphed into something different.
Is it because we don't feel it, or we didn't start with it, or do we appreciate what we had before?
Well, I think, but personally, I think that growing up, you set a standard of sorts of what hip hop is, how it represented the community, the culture, and yourself. And then when it kind of evolved into something different, it doesn't represent anything really. You listen to, if you look at lyrics of a track, there's no meaning to it. I mean, compared to what it was before, there's a meaning behind it. There's a story behind it. Now there isn't nothing. It's just sound. and there's nothing sonically that is appealing, and it has completely morphed into something that I don't really consider. Now, mind you, there are artists and there are groups that are the exception, but for the most part, a lot of these that are out now, I don't even know what I wouldn't call it hip hop personally.
Yeah, I call it pop.
You know what it is? Yeah, I think I have my finger on what it is. Back then, it was artistry, and we didn't have the technology that they have now.
Yes.
Right? And anybody now can be an artist. You throw in some auto-tune, anybody can be an artist now.
Yeah, 100%.
Everybody back then, nobody sounded like Busta Rhymes. Nobody sounded like LL Cool J. Nobody sounded like Run DMC or Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and so on and so on and so on.
And that was part of the culture too.
Sounded different, right? Everybody sounded different.
Yep.
Now, everybody sounds the same.
Yeah. It sounds like they got a mouthful of food and they're trying to sing.
And it's all what? Technology, all of it.
Yeah.
So anybody can be an artist now, doesn't matter.
It's something else too. And it's the way the labels are really kind of pushing things because, and I call it's a popification of hip hop. Again, you get to past 2008, those barriers of being able to hit pop radio, make big money off of that, those gates just busted wide open. And the whole ideology of all that kind of morphed. There's still that element that is still old school hip hop. Again, I mentioned Coast Contra. I just had a wedding last night, and the groom is a big underground hip hop guy. So I'm playing Khan, I'm playing Action Bronson, all this that really does have that back to the old school kind of flavor to it. Maybe more like 2000, 99, 98. But it still has, lyricism behind it, actually has some interesting beats behind it. The production is on quality and all that. Right. So there's still this divergence of what we grew up, that we saw that became popular was the Public Enemies, was the Run DMCs, were KRS-Ones, people who had some elements like substance behind it.
Yep.
And now it's really just the chase of money, is the popification of stuff. It's the commodification of it all.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I agree.
Man.
What's your story?
Real quick story. I was reading something on Twitter yesterday. Some guy, he's going to, they're suing him or getting him, but he made tracks, put them on all the places, and he made $10 million, and it was all AI.
Oh, AI generated.
AI. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, he made $10 million off the tracks that he put on Apple, all the different stores. And he wasn't even, it was just all AI generated.
Wow. Was it Fetty Wap?
No, it wasn't Fetty Wap. But
again, that's the consumption of music now. I mean, we bought CDs, we bought vinyl, we bought cassettes back in the day.
Yeah.
Once you start getting to the streaming generation and all that, music is now just, it's set and forget. Look how quickly an artist will blow up 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe. And you already forgotten about them.
That's the TikTok.
It comes so fast too. That's the other thing. You don't have. It's like the news cycle now. 24-hour news cycle. Music might be 3 weeks or less.
It's disposable.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, it's a TikTok era because TikTok, the music that you hear is what, 40 seconds.
If that.
That was
like 5 seconds.
Yeah. So I mean, the consumer, which they don't know anything past those 40 seconds because they don't know the song. They don't understand it. They don't listen to it.
But you know what I love watching on TikTok? When it's like a Gen X guy driving and his daughter, and she's playing like the new version, like Lotto's new version, and he throws on the old jam what Lotto stole from. Like,
yes, 100%.
Yeah. So it's coming back. Everything is cyclical, right?
Circle.
Everything comes full circle.
All right. So what's your favorite memory of spinning an old school hip hop set that made you realize just how powerful the genre is?
Damn. I'm going to go back college. So we're talking 91, and I was spinning. It was a lacrosse house, and a few other people came up. So it was, a few hundred people, at this party. And I've already spun more than a few sets of hip hop, but the reactions that I got, of course, old school was new school at that point. So I'm playing Tribe at that point. I'm playing De La, Heavy D, and all this. And that was the first crowd that I just saw like transform. Like they just got so into it. And it kind of just reaffirmed, my love for the genre and all that. But seeing how everybody reacted to that, and it was just a completely different vibe than what I had seen previously. And I was just like, wow, this is just, it's something different, something unique here.
All right.
Can you say the question again?
Really, Gio?
Senior moment here. I'm sorry. I was so into
What's your favorite memory of spinning an old school hip hop set that makes you realize just how powerful the music was, the genre music was?
I did an event with at a roller skating rink in LA, which is very popular roller skating rink. They did have a lot of performances, and that night it was Rodney O, Joe Cooley, I believe it was Egyptian Lover, and there was one other group, I don't remember, but to be able to be present in that moment and to just see how it affected people with music that you would hear either on the radio or you would play, but to see it live and to see how it moved everybody and just created this energy was probably the biggest impact of knowing that I'm in the right lane and I'm doing what I love and I want to continue doing this.
Okay. Rick?
Skinner?
For me, other than when I was performing, obviously in front of however many people, the moment I actually realized that hip hop was as big as it was, I was actually UTFO's road manager at the time, and we were headlining for New Edition. So UTFO had just gone on, and New Edition is performing. So me and Kango were standing backstage, but at the side. So we're at the side of the stage, looking at New Edition on stage performing, so the crowd could see Kango. You follow me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So while New Edition is performing, the crowd of 20,000 people, I forget where we were, is chanting his name, Kango, while New Edition is on stage. That's when I realized, I was like, wow, this is, man, it's gone beyond R&B and so on and so forth. But, when I was performing on stage, anytime I'm on stage doing my thing, cutting up and scratching and stuff, making 150,000 people move to me.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's something that I will take to my grave and I will never forget. Those are moments that I will always cherish because I still think about it getting chills now. Just.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And you, sir?
Well, I would say the first thing that comes to thought is when I was maybe around 16 or something like that. Me and my friends that we started DJing together, we would DJ house parties up and down, in the area that we stayed in. And we were off Loop 12 in Oak Cliff area.
Okay.
So there were maybe around 10 sets of apartments going up and down the little stretch that we stayed in. And just DJing back then, and it's nothing but old school hip hop, and being in a situation to where everybody is dancing to everything that's being played. And there is no, hey, can you play this line dance song? Or it's just everybody's just dancing and rapping, just playing Run DMC, and everybody's dancing, singing though. entire song, It's Like That, or Hard Times. And for me, it was like, man, this is crazy. So that's for me. What about you, Jeff?
So I have been in the military probably about 10, 15 years, been all over, traveled, been overseas, played overseas, came home, opened a club. I was DJing one night, and I caught myself going to play an R&B song. They went bananas. They was like, no, sir, we don't do R&B. And from that point on, man, it was just all hip-hop every time you were in the club. And then I will say we got a little bit of bias because when Master P and all of them were at their highest, we played nothing but Master P.
Yeah, well, no
Atlanta. It was just all that stuff. And, Too Short and all of them. But it was, you get your Puppies and all of that in. They slid to More Money, More Problems back in the day. But it was all hip hop. I'd say it's really taken over. But I'm telling you what really gets it, man. All the commercials and everything you see with hip hop in it. To me, that lets you know how strong and powerful the genre is now. It's everywhere. Super Bowl halftimes are taking over. Probably the last 3 out of 4 have been hip hop. So it's just taking over, and it's everywhere. It's in every lyric. It's in commercials, movies, you name it. Hip hop is everywhere. So, but I knew that night that hip hop was on a whole nother level when they started going. I said, "Oh my God!" So I make them say, "Oh."
You know what kills me is like even now, all these people, all these quote unquote throwbacks. So going back, early 2000s, 90s, and whatnot. They are hitting commercials and everything, and they remind the impact that they had. Why is it that we can't have music in that same mold now? There's an appetite.
Because it goes to what we were talking about before. It's not artistry.
That's true. Yeah.
Right. When you think about Black Sheep, and it's like, you can get with this or you can get with that. That is a song that will be played forever.
Mm-hmm.
What song now of this generation of hip hop artists is gonna be that generational? You know what I mean?
Nothing. I honestly, and I even mentioned this to my wedding clients when I'm talking to them, because a couple will play a little bit modern hip hop and all that, but for the most part, it's like I don't even consider it even like something I even want to listen to. When it's again here today, gone tomorrow, and that's it. But then they'll be like, we want to hear Black Sheep, or we want to hear Pac, or we want to hear Dr. Dre, or whatever. It's like that music has just like indelibly put its stamp on the psyche of everything.
And to add to that, it is such a cool feeling when you're DJing for, say, a diverse crowd. And this form of hip hop, or hip hop in itself, old school hip hop, may not have been on the menu. But the moment that you insert it into the menu, you see the crowd just transform into something else. And people that you would think that, oh, how do you know that? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter the age. And I guess that's another powerful thing, because what is really considered to be hip hop, you notice that it's not dying.
No.
Yeah.
It has a lifeline that continues to live.
Yep.
But the things that some people are considering to be old school hip hop, it's like you said, it's as soon as it touches your tongue, it's dead.
Yeah. A lot of the new stuff, it has a shelf life, Yeah. And a lot of the old school, it's timeless. You can literally play it in any event.
Yep.
Yeah, I can, dude. I've pulled out.
Relate.
Yeah, I've pulled out Planet Rock. and I'm just saying, and it's like, wow, how do y'all know that? and I'm just sitting there dancing.
TikTok. Go back.
And that is the one good thing with TikTok, is it does give the resurgence of things. But just a reminder of the impact, I just literally before this this interview, I was talking to my couple on Friday that I have. We're starting off with Run DMC for the dance set. We're going, It's Like That. I'm ending with International Players Anthem on the night.
Man, you got it that scripted out, Lou? I need to see that list later.
I always ask the question. The certain songs I always want to hear is like, do you want to hear something as we open up the dance set and blah blah? Do you want to hear something? And they're just like, they've got a good mix of things, but they're starting off with old school hip hop, and there's ending with freaking Andre and freaking UGK.
Nice.
Love it.
So in respect to you guys' time, and I know you guys, you have lives outside of this. We have 3 more questions, but I'm gonna pick one out of the question. Okay. So which one you want to pick, Jeff?
All
right.
Okay, I know you had something in mind.
Okay, let's see. Looking back, do you feel hip hop has maintained its original purpose and message? Or I don't even want that question. We've already asked that question. Thank you. Let's see.
No, bad question.
I can answer this question.
I can answer that one too.
Yes, go ahead. Let's go with that.
For me, that album is The Chronic.
What?
Wow.
Okay.
Chronic.
That's respectable. That's respectable.
Yeah. I can't blame you for that one either.
Can't blame you for that one. Your opinion defines the essence of hip hop.
For an East Coast dude to call out The Chronic like that says a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go with
huge.
I'm gonna go with It Takes a Nation of Millions to hold us back.
That would be my second.
Man, wow.
Do you? What is back that up?
Hey, but you know what? If you think about it, that was a phenomenal album.
What, The Chronic?
No, hip hop. I mean,
which one?
Juvenile.
Okay.
400 Degrees. That was a phenomenal album.
Okay.
I mean, and it defines the culture. It had a little. I mean, it changed the whole thing. It mixed. I mean, it gave the South a chance, or it put them in the mix with every. It became national for the Dirty South. So that's one of mine that defines it. I mean, especially
I like that.
The skits with them outside the projects and all that stuff, and what he's done. So Juvie will always be one of my favorites, man. I love Juvie.
We got it. 400 degrees,
baby.
Mine would be Run DMC, their first album. Yeah.
Okay.
That or maybe License to Ill.
Yeah.
That was a good album. I mean,
that was great.
It's one of the top grossing albums of all time.
Yes.
Rick Rubin production and
Rick
all
Rubin
I'm
is
just saying it. You can pop in that tape and listen to it. Side B,
and that's
A and B.
That's what's missing now. Being able to listen to the whole album.
Now, and that was party music. I mean, that's that's what we're just talking about. It's things that are timeless that you can play. You can play girls. You can play, Paul Revere at a party, and they're going to dance. They're going to
even No Sleep to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I forget all that, man. MC Hammer was the greatest rapper of all time.
Hey, now
Vanilla Ice.
I have one closing thing for you guys because you said Run DMC. This particular song was one of the greatest songs for me as a DJ, and that's Daryl and Joe.
Okay.
Dumb Girl.
No, and the reason why is Jam Master Jay's closing part. That's like a DJ symphony to me. When you hear Daryl and Joe and just hear, the ending of it. I've played that song, I don't know how many times.
But they have so many like that, man.
Not like that closing part.
So I'm going to flip it a little because I actually got asked this question a couple of weeks ago. What I felt is the one song that encapsulated hip hop, like just the one song, like Alien came down from a spaceship and you had to introduce them to hip hop. What song? And for my song is Reminisce Over You. That to me is got to be probably one of the most perfectly executed.
That would go back to another underrated person, Pete Rock and CL Smooth. They go back to Unappreciated. Straighten it out.
An album.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. Man.
But I want to hear everybody else's answer to that because that is a damn good question.
Yeah.
I don't have one song. I can't nail it down to one song. I can't.
One song that.
What about today? What is that song today? Because that changes.
Has it changed, Lou? Or is it still your song?
It is still my song. And what's so funny, and I remember the first time I heard that song, I knew that song was just like special.
You know what? You know what song? Every time I hear it, it makes me go crazy.
What?
Pharaoh Monch.
What? That's one of my favorites.
Dude, every time I hear Pharaoh Monch, and it's not like it's more about the beat and the hype.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I mean it's like
get up. Yeah.
if you want to talk about the essence of hip hop and make a person go crazy in the club, Pharaoh Monch. When that beat hits,
for me, it was Rebel Without a Pause. Public Enemy.
That's and Bomb Squad on that. It was just
see, that's why I couldn't say.
Yeah, you can't narrow it down. There's so many great hits, man, and just.
But those are representative of East Coast.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, those are representative of East Coast. I mean, to me, it's Boys in the Hood, NWA, West Coast.
To me, that song is just okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always thought that better with G, like real G funk.
Oh well, yeah. Next episode, obviously, or I can't say it.
You can say
it. Is it that one with NWA, the Police?
No, FU.
Yeah. I figured that's what it was. But I mean, you could play
or regulate.
I mean, but you can play the national anthem too, man. That beat when it hits, man.
Yeah,
we're gonna bag it up, baby. You play that. It's like people lose their mind no matter where they at. I mean, y'all know it. That is a national. We call it the Dirty South national anthem.
What about regulate?
He's going back to juvie.
I mean, it was he changed the whole.
He loves his juvie.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna do all. I mean, I grew up. I mean,
he's a Nolan.
Another one, man, that didn't get his credit, but was in that documentary. DJ Jimmy, the guy that started the whole thing with the bounce music, man. What air, girl? What air? Do it, baby. Stick it. You know, it's just you can play stuff and just drop it, and I mean, just.
But it's all regional.
Do we consider, and this is, and I know we got to go. Do you consider bounce to be hip hop?
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Because Trigger Man is Memphis.
And Trigger Man is not drag rap.
Yeah, but
they've taken that and made and turned that into bounce.
You know, it's funny. It's funny, Mike.
There's songs that come out of New Orleans without bounce to it, though. You know.
Yeah, earlier, Mike, you had asked if go-go is hip hop.
I don't consider it to be hip hop.
It's not.
No, it's not.
Go-go music is DC.
It's live funk.
It's go-go.
Yeah, but what's his name took it? I mean, Cool took it to another level, like you said. Cool exploded for a while, and he really
DJ Cool. He just
he only had one song. Don't get me wrong. He had a lot of like little hits and all, but the only thing that really just one song.
So Chuck Chill Out and all of them did nothing.
Not as big as the Butt.
Well, the Butt was a song, but yeah.
You mean Chuck Brown?
Yeah, Chuck Brown, not Chuck Chill Out. Yeah, Chuck Brown.
You couldn't have a go-go concert without Chuck Brown.
Yeah,
you can't have that.
But if you love music, and like I said, I feel blessed that I grew up not prejudiced towards other coasts and zip codes. And I got the experience Memphis, Houston, Dallas. I mean, I got the experience Chicago, everybody. I got it all. And Luke, I got a little scrub the ground. I got everything. So I and I got.
Hey, we are happy that you're diverse.
I got the regulator, and I wasn't prejudiced against nobody. I was good. But no, man. But yeah, I feel y'all because once Juvie them hit it kind of like we stopped liking East Coast. So everything was down south. But no, I love music too much. Biggie was my favorite, Tupac and all that. You couldn't go without getting that. So no.
Well, I would say this. I think it's we all in agreement where hip hop originated and what defines old school hip hop. I think we're in agreement with that. And that's in those golden those golden years of 78 to around 89.
Yeah.
And everything past that goes into another
second tier. Then we get to that third tier that we really
and then there are some tiers that I don't even want to
reverse back into another tier or remix that tier.
or we just disown. Like I said, I just call it pop. I literally categorize anything trap and all that in my library is listed as pop. I do not list it as
I put mine as hip pop.
Hip hop. Y'all out of control, man. But gentlemen, we thank y'all for spending some time. We're gonna let everybody get back to their meals and the debate and all that good stuff that's going on. And man, it was a pleasure just
thank you.
And we as you can tell, we love talking to you. We love this.
One last note.
Go ahead.
Just so you know, we got almost 200 years of experience in this room right here.
And I'm the baby.
Wow.
Almost 200 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Lou, how long you been DJing?
Since 88. So I'm 50 and I've been DJing since 88.
Wow. I'm 38 and I've been DJing since I was 1. No, 58 and I started in 84. I turned the first click on the radio in 84.
Yeah. It was about 84 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost 200 years.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Man, we old.
No.
I mean, vintage.
No, we're not.
We're
seasoned.
No, we're old school.
Well, hey, big quick shout outs. We can't wait to see the guys up in Boston at Harvest Sound, one of our sponsors for the show.
Lou.
Big shout out to NFLX. You need some gear, hit those guys up. EV. Everybody
Curator Live.
Curator Live, James and his crew. E-Star, everybody that takes care of the show. We appreciate everybody that sponsors and pours into us and believes in what we're trying to do. Continue to throw back into the community. And having you great guys, Rick, who I can pick his brain anytime, Gio, who I can call at any moment, and Lou, who I just love his artistry. What you did at DJ X up on the rooftop.
Was
beautiful.
It was nice.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it was nice.
So just the different things that you get from everybody, man, and just
one line. I just have one question for you guys, and you can say this in a sentence. Have stems reinvigorated you?
1000%. That whole rooftop set I did.
Yeah, it was amazing.
All stems work.
Yeah, it's not that it reinvigorated me. It's cool because I used to grab acapellas and instrumentals anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, and that may not be the right word, but it just gave me something else to want to do. It gave me something that I didn't have the ability to do when we were younger. You had to have acapella instrumental.
You had to have
the fact that I can just do it like this and break it apart, in 4 sections, and just intertwine all of these different sections. It just makes it fun.
Gio, are you able to use it on the old SX2?
Yeah, I am. But I don't use it that much. I'm so used to now with digital to having to do it on my own.
Yeah.
I'm just so used to that. I forget that I have it. So.
Yeah. Well, you know how I feel about it.
Yeah. He's not. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I was almost ready to switch away from Record Box back to Serato because I needed stems in my life that bad. I was fiending. So when they put it out, Mike knew he saved me about $2,000 because I was ready to go. I was like, okay, I can't take it no more. I'm ready to switch over. But y'all, once again, thank y'all for y'all time. Thank y'all for jumping on with us at almost notice or however, but let's go home, Mike.
All right, y'all. Peace out.
Yes.